want to do it, right? And you're thinking, should I try this out? I don't know if I should. You're not going to know unless you try. I always try to tell people, keep going until you can't go anymore. And then when you keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, stop, take a little mental break, look in the mirror, say, why am I really doing this? And then keep pushing again. Because I think even in my short 9 years, I haven't worked a day in my life. I love my job, I love my career, I love my family, I love my work family. And it's something that you shouldn't shy away from.
I think to be a good firefighter, you need to be dedicated.
Somebody that's driven, that's honest.
We're looking for people that are strong. We're looking for people that can learn.
Definitely need to have both physical and mental stamina.
Hard work, attitude, effort.
Being a team player, being collaborative in your thought process.
It's a job that you really kind of have to go with the flow. At times you have to be very flexible.
Professionalism is huge.
One has to obviously have some sort of compassion.
People who are very service-oriented. They want to be community servants. They want to make a difference.
90% of what we do is going out and dealing with the public on their worst day.
So I always come to every single call and arrive with a bright smile on my face, looking to assist in whatever way I can.
Why is this the greatest job in the world? Well, because you're not in an office every day.
You're walking into the same place, but you're walking into different situations every day.
Today's fire service is all risk mitigation.
Most of our calls are medical related.
As the first arriving crew, we're like bringing the emergency room to the patient.
We do respond to fires of all different types, from rubbish fires to vegetation fires, vehicle fires, structure fires.
There's also water rescue, hazmat events that could take place.
And then there's other calls like vehicle rescues, cliff rescues, trench rescues.
If it's not law enforcement related, oftentimes we're the ones who are called to handle it.
When we come on duty, we do a shift change, and the off-going crew pretty much just gives us a run-over of what they did during their time on duty, what calls they went on, stuff we may need to check over in the rig.
As the day begins,
Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Recruitment in the Spotlight. Today we're here with the Vallejo Fire Department. Hello.
Hello. How are we doing? Hey.
All right, all right. So my name is Lasana Pakeman. I'll be your host for today. She, her pronouns. I'm the recruitment manager for Cal-JAC. And so I want you to know that if you're not already, we want you to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications. We don't want you to miss any future episodes or videos. We have content on the CPAT, FCTC written testing, fire departments that are hiring, and so much more. Also joining me today, we have the Amanda Carlton. She's the testing specialist for FCTC. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Lasana. Hey, Vallejo Fire. And hello, everyone out there joining us. My name is Amanda. I'm your testing specialist here at FCTC. Any and all questions you have today, go ahead and place in the chat or on Instagram. We'll be going through those questions and checking in intermittently throughout today's production. Thank you.
All right. All right, well, thank you, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Who are we sitting here with today? Let's get some intros. Those are in order. So as you introduce yourself, if you could share your name, your rank, and how long you've been a firefighter. And we'll go ahead and start with you.
Well, hello there. My name is Anthony Shirley. I'm a firefighter paramedic, and I've been with the Vallejo Fire Department 11 years.
11 years,
yeah.
All right.
Taylor Grisham, been with the Vallejo Fire Department for 6 years, and I'm a firefighter paramedic.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. My name is Juan Rafael. I'm an engineer, and I've been with the Vallejo Fire Department for 6 years.
My name is Kevin Henry. I'm an apprentice firefighter, and I've been with the City of Vallejo for 2 years.
Okay. And so I know it's my understanding you're still in the apprentice program, the apprenticeship program.
Yes.
But congrats on making it off probation.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. All right, so we'd like to get into your stories. We always want candidates to know how each of you became a firefighter. Everyone's path is so different. So Anthony, we're going to start with you. If you could talk about what aspects of the fire service interested you, and then just steps you took toward becoming a firefighter.
Leather helmets, tiller trucks, and the movie Backdraft were some of the key things that this is no joke. Really, that was like really what got me. The movie Backdraft, for the most part, I just watched it on rerun. I mean, I was an 80s kid. All those movies really inspired me. And then when I really got into it, going to EMT school, the science has always interested me. And then you started networking with people that were in those courses and what's next and the next steps, so forth and so on. But yeah, it just was kind of a self-fulfilling thing as I got the ball rolling. So.
Mm-hmm. And then can you talk a bit about your journey of becoming a firefighter? And so, you know, how many departments did you apply to? What advice do you have for folks facing rejection along their journey?
Yeah, so I got hired in Vallejo in 2013, and I really started, the first test I took was in 2005 for the city of Oakland. And I remember vividly that test for, the written test was wrapped around the block at Civic Center. It was like 5,000 people took that test. And at that moment, I knew I was like, I have to do something to separate myself from the pack. So I applied for like over 35 departments in the 8 years it took me to get hired. It was quite the journey, but the more courses I took, the more invested I got into the process and making sure I was going to be one of the best candidates that could, you know, potential department could hire. It really was just something I was all in. There's no way of backing out. After, you know, getting the 35 letters of thank you but no thank you, which are still laminated in my office today just because I use them as inspiration. So for that, you know, it just says just an opportunity is not right now. Looking at it as not an obstacle that cannot be overcome. That's my advice that I have for anybody looking at, you know, into it and just being able to deal with it.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And so shout out to you for holding on to all that stuff and using it as power to motivate yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
So Juan, what inspired you to become a firefighter, and how'd you end up at Vallejo?
Well, my story is a little unique, right? You have the people that had fire exposure when they were young and kind of always had an interest in the fire service. I, for one, did not know about the fire service, didn't know if it was a job for me, didn't even really care for it in one way or another. Honestly, it was my girlfriend in high school. She's my wife now, but she happened to have a contact that was a firefighter already through her family. And so she knew that it was an option, a viable option if that. So I inquired about it, went to a couple classes, and I realized this is something I love. Then I inquired a little deeper and realized like, hey, this is actually something that could provide financial stability for my future family. This is something that could provide and help develop and set that next, it's succession planning, if you will, in my own family. This is what I saw as a great opportunity. So once that first door opened, I never stopped and looked back. I found out about the Vallejo Explorers. I found out about local volunteer fire departments, EMT classes, and medic school. And again, once that one door opened, I just kept running down that hallway until I got to the end. And luckily, the end landing was my hometown department.
So you grew up in Vallejo.
Correct.
You're you're going to different schools in Vallejo. You never saw a firefighter come to your school to speak to you about it.
I can't say that they didn't show up, but for my recollection, I've never seen a fire truck or never once crossed my mind of seeing a fire truck or remember a presentation or any of that.
Wow.
But I can also say that during the time of my upbringing, the city of Vallejo filed for bankruptcy. So a lot of resources were greatly reduced.
A lot of changes. Yeah, totally understandable. And now look at you. You're a firefighter, 6 years on with Vallejo Fire Department.
My God. Just can't tell yourself no.
That's right. Shout out to you. And so, Kevin, let's talk with you for a bit. You have a military background. And so if you could talk about what it was like transitioning from the military into the fire service.
Yeah, so it wasn't a straight line for me. I was a combat medic in the Army. And I got out, started pursuing biochemistry in college, and immediately felt like I didn't fit in. I wasn't engaged. My style of learning did not mesh well with higher level education like that. So I was working out back home one day, and a friend of mine who is a firefighter still, and he told me, he's like, you know what, man, you should try being a firefighter. And I was like, okay, what do I do for that? He's like, you do X, Y, and Z. And I did X, Y, and Z. And I did them just to the T as he told me to. And that's how I got here. I volunteered for a couple years, worked on the ambulance, and I was lucky enough to get hired in 2022.
And some of our previous conversations, you had talked about some of the struggles of having ADHD and then trying to make that work, and how the fire service was just a perfect fit for your strengths. Can you share some of those things?
Yeah, I know it's surprising because I'm so well spoken, but I really struggled in high school. We talked about it last night. I took 3 English classes my final semester of my senior year because I couldn't get it down. I didn't have good study habits. I was struggling to just stay involved in school. I always wanted to be outside. My head was always looking out the window. And every single report card I think I got from the 7th grade to the 12th said, has potential, not living up to it. And so my parents recognized it immediately, and that's when I had somebody come in and talk to me in high school or talk to our class. He said, if I could do it all over again, I'd be a combat medic in the Army. And I was like, there's medics in the Army? That's freaking genius. Right. Well, they need those there. So I went and I signed up. I was like, they're going to set me straight. And I don't know if I don't know if I'm 100% the person I need to be fully developed yet, but I think they did a pretty good job. Set me on the right course.
I have a similar story too. I was taking chemistry at plants at San Francisco State because my parents always pushed college, and it was really hard for me to pay attention. And I was managing a sports store, paying my own tuition, and then a guy came in, bought a jersey, and told me all about the fire service. And school became a lot easier once I was interested in the subject material. So I know the fire service and the apprenticeship, I clinged right to it because it's all fascinating to me. So,
So you're just at work one day, someone comes in,
buys the most expensive jersey, whips out a wallet badge, and I was like, are you a cop? And he's like, no, I'm a firefighter. And I'm like, how do you do that? He's like, go to EMT school or be a paramedic. And I was like, done. Next day I went to City College, EMT course, and then it was all from there.
Wow. So if you're watching at home right now or listening in your car on your lunch break, and maybe you feel like school isn't the best fit, or maybe it wasn't introduced to you as early as you would have liked, or you know what I mean, someone tells you what steps to take, this is all excellent motivation.
Yeah, never too late.
Yeah.
Never too late.
There we go. All right, well, Taylor, let's hear from you. Can you talk about your career path, how it evolved, and then some of the skills that you carried from past experiences into the fire service?
Absolutely. So school is always a big part of my life. I was fairly successful in education, and I pursued a degree, went to junior college. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Teaching had always been something in the back of my mind. I have a lot of family members that are teachers. And it was something I always felt kind of confident in, ability to talk to people and kind of share my knowledge and experience, and just was passionate about it. So I pursued that. I was able to get my teaching credential and get my degree from the University of California, Berkeley. And once I did that, I was teaching in school, working with people, students that were 18 and I'm 22 years old. And there was something in me that, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to share what I knew, but I felt like there was something else I wanted to try. Like I just hadn't really checked all my boxes of what I wanted to do. So I had, kind of run of the luck. I met somebody that was a firefighter. They invited me to come by their station and kind of laid out a game plan, kind of like Kevin was saying, here's X, Y, and Z. These are the steps. You just have to execute and do it. And so literally that month I decided to get online and look for an EMT course. I found it. And then from there I went to EMT school, paramedic school, and my fire academy. So kind of from there, I was able to get hired fairly quickly, which obviously takes effort and work, and I'm happy about that. But I think the experiences that I gained and have translated is my ability to teach. I was kind of given an opportunity to teach early on in my career with the department, and it's one of my biggest passions, one of my biggest hobbies, something I do with Anthony and Juan as well. And so I think this gives us that opportunity to say that, with your degrees, you can always translate it into something else, and you can always use your skills. They're not perishable. So as long as you're finding a way to apply them, it's the biggest thing you can do. So.
Mm-hmm. And so you two came on together, right? Weren't you in the same academy?
Yes, we were.
Amazing. And now you're sitting here talking about the department together.
Yep. It's a place we both love. We knew each other before we got hired, but we didn't know each other in that aspect. We were just coworkers.
Right.
And then we saw each other for the first time, and we're like, okay, our heads on the same goal. We care, passionate about this place. Let's make an impact.
Amazing, amazing. And so we have a huge following, with the Becoming a Firefighter platform, ranging from high school, college, career changers, all of that. And so we always want to make sure messaging is really, really speaking to the people that watch the content, the people that are here now. We know that as college students, sometimes they really struggle to I focused so much time on this degree. How do I make a transition into public service? Or I really want to become a firefighter. Is there anything you can advise that really helped you out in your journey in making that decision?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that I took solace in was, my wife actually presented this to my girlfriend at the time, was, what do you want for your life? What's important to you? And I felt like at the time that was everything I needed to hear. I needed to really sit down and think, okay, if I don't give this an opportunity and push myself to try something that I think I want to do, I don't want to let that opportunity pass me by. So I think that anybody that's currently in college, continue following through with that degree that you're working on, or if it's just realizing it's not for you, that's okay. You're not failing. You're choosing a different path. You're choosing a different direction. And when we have people come in our door that are pursuing some type of degree or in a different career field, we always let them know that this is an option for you, right? This isn't you're not stuck in your situation. There's always a way to pursue what your dream is, and so you should never tell yourself no. Mm-hmm. So I think to keep that in the back of your mind, you should do whatever you can to explore it.
Mm. You had an amazing way of saying that in a previous conversation. You said something like, it's not the path, it's a path, or? Sure,
so a lot of the time when we teach, we're gonna teach you a way, but it's not the way. So we give everybody the freedom to adapt in how they learn and what works for them best, and we don't want to pigeonhole you into a box. So.
I like to add something to that too.
Yeah.
We slowly start to understand people come with a lot of different life experiences too, and so it's not something that should prohibit you from even trying to get some insight or interest. Just doing a station visit or ride out. Once you find out, and this has happened for me and all the guys here, once you do something you love, it's not really work. Like, we'll wash the engine and we're having a great time. And sometimes we'll sit in amazement like, oh, we're getting paid to do this. I mean, we take it seriously, trust me, but those are some of those moments where you're like, wow.
I'm at work.
I'm at work. Yeah, Right. Some people can't share that, and then, I understand that they're looking at different career path changes, but this is one of those things where you can come in and talk to any one of us, and we're open books, complete open books.
Mm-hmm. It really is a family atmosphere. Like, one of us goes home, I'm calling and checking in, saying, hey, are you okay? Is everything at home okay? What's going on? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't just go, you're my brother, what's happening?
Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely want to thank you all for sharing that. Myself and some of our team have been able to spend time with you. I can say from what I've seen thus far, that is 100% true. This is definitely a family. There are good vibes all the way through and through. All right.
Can you guess who the little brother is?
Dun, dun, dun. Oh man, what a good question. So let's talk about the City of Vallejo. So you all work for Vallejo Fire Department in the City of Vallejo. What are some things you wish people knew about the City of Vallejo?
Yeah, we talked about this together, and I think Henry came up with one of the best ways to answer this question.
Yeah, so City of Vallejo is a tough city. We've got tough citizens, and a one-sentence answer would be it's a little city with big city problems. As firefighters, we're presented with obstacles that we have to, and problems we have to solve. That's what we do as firefighters. We're problem solvers. People call, we show up, and they expect us to fix it. In a city like Vallejo, there's waterfront property, there's golf courses, there's multiple highways, there's a theme park. There's so many different types of houses, and as well as the diversity of people that live in those houses. It's one of the most diverse cities culturally and ethnically and economically in the state, if not the country. And that provides us the opportunity to solve those problems and get creative and really put our training to use. And Juan's from the city, and it's a historical city. He'd probably be able to talk way more on that, and I'm going to pass it on to him.
So like Kevin was mentioning, I was born and raised in the City of Vallejo. I truly believe it is a city of opportunity. It does provide you with a lot of great foundation and possibility to move forward. With that being said, I'd be lying if I say that it doesn't come with its own challenges, its own issues, but like any city or any town, everything has problems. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best with surround you and make the best decisions. One thing I do know from being born and raised there is there a hometown vibe like no other. The citizens really believe in their blue-collar hometown, that Vallejo, we are it. This is what we got. We may not have everything, but we are what we are, and this is what it is. Like Mare Island is built on that military background. Vallejo is built based off the military background. It has this grit to it that you just cannot explain by the citizens. They just, if you're in it, you understand. Mm-hmm. But from the outside looking in, it could be a little misunderstanding. But yeah, there's a vibe in that town and the citizens that is like no other. I can't explain it truly, but you can sense it in the terms of their willingness to be tenacious and fight back and prove through.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, like we talked last night, when you meet somebody that's from Vallejo, eventually you can tell they're from Vallejo. They got a gift of gab, a certain level of like hustler in them. Like I was telling you the story about my classmate who was like, hey, can you fix this remote? And I was like, yeah, man, I'll take a look. And I looked, it was the TV. He's like, hey, while you're up there, can you change the channel for me? And I was like, he got me. Yeah. But he's like that. They're quick,
they
like really quick. You can't get over on them either. There's nothing. No, not gonna happen. Yeah, and they can sense phony too.
Walking lie detectors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you guys definitely get to use your skills. Lots of stuff going on in Vallejo, but also sounds like it's a great place to work.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It's a community that needs us, mm-hmm. and their expectation of us is very high, and the four of us and the rest of the department and the union, we want to provide the best service and live up to those expectations.
Yeah, that public trust that we have, it is not something that we take lightly. We hold it with a tremendous amount of responsibility and accountability for ourselves and our actions to never lose or compromise that public trust. The citizens we view as like members of our family. Like, I wish you could do a station visit and see how we interact with the community. Like it is something that's very near and dear. And I'm not saying that other departments do it differently, but I feel like because of our community, we have a deep sense of pride in the level of service that we provide, whether it be fire, EMS, any one of the number of things that we provide. But yeah, you could see it day to day, even with our Spanish-speaking members. Like, it is tremendous to see how well they engage, touch, embrace people, in their moment of need and when they're grieving. It's pretty profound.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Taylor, you also brought up another huge benefit, which is affordability to live near your job.
Absolutely. Especially there's a lot of new development going on in Vallejo, so there's still some expansion going on. The housing market is what it is right now. We don't need to get into that, but it does give you the opportunity to live where you work, and you're still in the Bay Area. And yeah, it's definitely got a lot of opportunity and promise in Vallejo.
Shout out to the Bay Area, shout out to Vallejo Fire Department for all of your people that are watching, supporting you all right now. We want to remind you, for those of you that are watching, go ahead and submit your questions. We want to be able to take as many questions as we can live. But next, we're going to talk about the Apprenticeship Program. Excuse me. Let's see. All right. So yeah, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that. I know that you all have a pretty expansive apprenticeship program. So Anthony, if you could tell us a bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so our apprenticeship program started in 1981, and it's a 3-year-long apprenticeship program. Not to be confused with a 3-year-long probation. That's not the case. Our probationary period is 1 year after completion of the academy. So for 3 years, you're in an apprenticeship program. It's like any other skilled trade, right? So carpenters have an apprenticeship program, iron workers, millwrights. It's very, very similar to it. So for us, we teach you in the Recruit Academy all the skills that you need to learn. That's the standard for firefighting. And then every month you'll be evaluated on a certain subject, and the questions are all written out. We call those minors, and then every 6 months you'll have a major evaluation. Those can last anywhere from 2, maybe 6 hours. The coup de grace, the 36-month evaluation, that's an 8-hour day. That's a pretty long day. But you're also evaluated daily by your company officers, so they have to fill out forms, your attitude, performance, work ethic, all those things, physical fitness, knowledge of EMS equipment, training. So it's pretty intensive when it comes to the training component, but if you look at it as like a skilled labor and a craft and really honing your profession, that intense drive and work that you put in, understanding all the capabilities and limitations of your equipment, advancements in technology, how we apply resources to certain fires and certain tactics, strategies we employ, like on all the services we provide. I would think it's almost too short, but they would disagree. But it's actually, it turns out, we think, a quality product. From everybody sitting here to the battalion chief, and recently our fire chief, they've all gone through the apprenticeship program. So you can see it creates a certain level of camaraderie, and the learning doesn't stop after that. So some people would think it's pretty intense, but for the most part, you're getting helped out along the way. There isn't any subject matter that you're going to go through or question you're asked that any one of us haven't been asked on. So it's very intuitive, like, hey, you went through this, what did you think about this chainsaw? Or how did you answer this question? And formulating answers and being able to speak intelligently on the subject matter that you're being questioned on is a part of it. So that's what makes it professional. For us, go ahead.
I want to tap in on that, and just the apprenticeship and all the evals, you have the questions in front of you. You know what's going to be asked on the test day. Describe a chainsaw, describe this type of cut, describe this type of that. So there's no confusion on what you're going to get tested on. It just allows you to dig deeper into the books, into the resources, into the YouTube and whatever channels you have to gain a deeper knowledge of it and understand the why we're doing it, other than just the skill. Yeah. And that's where we take pride in understanding the why, because if we understand the why, then we're able to function in any part of this department.
Yeah, we teach you a lot of, you gain a lot of that knowledge throughout of it, but having the understanding of, of why you do a certain thing, or why we tie a certain knot, or why we do this technique, that really bridges the gap, because we have the opportunity to run those types of calls. So any one of us can answer a question for an apprentice and be like, oh, I've done this, and that's why this worked, or that's why this didn't work. And oftentimes we're always reviewing the questions to see if they're up to date and if some of them are antiquated and they get pulled out. But it's, I think it's been a huge benefit to our organization to make sure that from the ground up for 3 years, you're getting the best, it's like caring for a kid. Does that make sense?
Comprehensive training.
Comprehensive training. It really bridges the gap between knowledge and understanding. And if you like to teach or you are really into it, you're going to be extremely successful. You don't have to be a college graduate, but note taking, that type of stuff helps, and life experience helps also. We have a guy we recently hired who's 45 years old, and he is doing a great job. So he had a career change also late, but he's doing really well in it. So I wouldn't say it's not for the faint of heart. You just have to know what you're getting into. But we encourage people to come down to the department and to the stations and see what it's like. You'll most likely run into an apprentice who's going to be studying for an evaluation and be like, hey, can I take a look at those books, right? And you get to see it, and they'll tell you about the day-to-day operations, what they're going through.
We like to say it's the backbone of our organization.
Okay.
The apprenticeship.
Yes.
Okay. And so, as a current apprentice, can you talk a bit about day-to-day life, in the apprenticeship program?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the apprentice, I'm usually the junior guy on the shift, junior firefighter on the shift, and what that comes with is coming in every morning, setting myself up for success, checking out the rig, checking out the station, seeing what it needs throughout the day, seeing what we're going to do for food, things like that, see what training we have scheduled, like department training, and then communicating with my captain and my engineer for the day and seeing what their expectations of me are going to be, and then also communicating my needs. I have an eval every month, so 36 evals in the 3-year apprenticeship. Every 6 months there's a major, and every month there's like a minor eval. So I'll talk to, if Anthony's my captain and I have a ladders eval coming up, I'll talk to him and be like, hey, I need to throw ladders today. I know you work on the truck. I was hoping we could get down to the truck. You could talk to me about the aerial, and I'd like to go through it and maybe even throw it, climb it, things like that. And typically the culture of our department is he's going to support me because I don't know what I don't know, and it's his obligation to pass that knowledge down to me. Now where it comes in is I have to have that thirst and that hunger for knowledge. Nobody's handing it to me, but they're not hiding the ball.
There's no pop quizzes. Definitely. We're not here to surprise you or get you off your game. We want you to be successful. We're highly invested in everyone's success from the bottom up. All of us are. He's like you said, we don't make it easy. And if you were to come to me for an evaluation on ladders, about, okay, tell me what you know. Then I'll ask him why, and then why. And then we get to a point where we'll start to share experiences and knowledge and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's to make each other better. And it's for the citizens ultimately.
And so I know that a huge part of this whole program, this apprenticeship, is teaching, is learning. It sounds like the teaching is going both ways, from the student to the instructor and back and forth. Styles and just how you advise, students within the program, firefighters in the program, to approach studying.
Sure, I think that, I've taught in 5 academies or 4 academies up until this point, and you really get a gauge of how people learn based on your interactions with them. So I think that we do a good job, our instructors do a good job of being able to adapt our teaching styles and based on the learning abilities of the student. We know that we can't just be cookie cutter. It can't just be, hey, I'm going to read you this script. We need to adapt and kind of overcome whatever's going on. And I think we do a good job of making sure that we have, the didactic portion, which is the books, maybe a PowerPoint, some type of learning modicum like that. Then we have the hands-on portion, which our job is very hands-on, but there are technical aspects that we need to have a grip of and understand. And so we find ways to incorporate that while we're doing hands-on things outside. Maybe while we're taking a break, we're going to start teaching people about, hey, let's learn about the technical specifications of the ladder. Like, do you know how much this weighs? Do you know whatever the different sections are rated at? All those types of technical information is knowing your tool in its fullest capabilities. Those are things tips and tricks that we use to kind of help people. Obviously, like we talked about, I have a background in education, and I think a lot of those skills, they're learned over time, and I'm able to translate some of those skills, but then like Juan and I teach together pretty often, and he has a different style. But that will hit a different level of learners, and so it's very important that we team teach, which we do often, and being humble and open to that. And one thing he and I both do is we ask for constructive criticism after the fact. Hey, could we have presented this to you guys a little bit different? Is there something we could have done to make this streamlined for you? So we're not afraid to seek the criticism as well, and I think that openness is kind of part of our culture as well. We're not afraid to be wrong. We just want to fix it and be right.
We want to be better, because at the end of the day, it's not hurting us, it's hurting the citizens.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have to be honest with ourselves and self-reflect a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can speak from personal experience. Like, I had an opportunity to be a training captain on a promotional list, and these 2 guys were in their apprenticeship. And I found out that he learns very differently from him. He's I need things written down. Tell me what you want me to know. Show me what you want me to do. And then I'll be able to do that performance. And he learns very differently. He can read real quick. And it's not to say one's better than the other, but their learning styles are very different. And it's got to the point now where if I'm working on an eval with somebody else, I'm like, well, how do you learn? Are you a visual learner? Would you like me to see me do this? Or would you like something to read, some more reference material? Because you can't find everything in one book. So, I mean, if you're conscientious, there's a lot of literature out there. And they keep bringing up ladders. I like nozzles. But so it's funny because you learn that for us in a firefight is very important. It's like an officer with their gun. They need to know if that thing's going to malfunction, what they're going to do in order to clear it. So for us, we make them draw specification drawings, like what's the length, what's the diameter, how many threads are on this, how does this work? How are you going to clear it if you have this problem? Like, it's very, we would say intensive, but it's absolutely important and paramount. And we can all share experiences and stories about checking our equipment. This wasn't there, this was missing, I had to get this replaced, I placed this out of service. So you can see the value in it, and that's what I think the backbone of it is those shared traditions and experiences in the apprenticeship.
What's great with the Vallejo Fire Department is that along with all the training and the JAC apprenticeship that we have, we also get to actually go to the fires and we get the call volume to actually test our performance and actually test if what we're doing is right. Are we actually learning? Are we actually retaining the information? Are we executing like we're supposed to? Or are we just being successful in the training ground and not in the real world? So it's a great thing for us to be able to actually have the opportunity to go make difference in these people's lives.
And just to tap
You
on
had
that
a
too.
really good,
I'm sorry.
You had a really good example, a life example of applying some of the learning styles. And having been through school, and so, in school you're taking higher level AP honors level classes, but not really familiar with your learning style. And so you come into this apprenticeship program.
Correct. So throughout school, I've always got good grades. That was never an issue for me. But what I found out early on is I didn't really need to learn the material. I just needed to learn what the teacher was expecting, and I could get a good passing grade. Well, that worked for a little bit in college. It didn't really work in the fire aspect, and like Anthony said, that's actually something I gravitated towards. It was interesting. I found something. With the apprenticeship being tested monthly and communicating with your crew members and your classmates, you start realizing there's other people that are studying the same thing. You start realizing how they learn. Again, we'll just keep going back with me and Taylor here. He's a person that writes down a ton of information on notes, 2 or 3 pages on notes, and I'll go in there and I'll delete 2.5 pages of it. I'm like, this isn't important. He's like, they're all important. I was like, I understand it's all important, but if we're sitting here trying to retain all this information, we're never gonna understand the basic foundation of it, which is the most important part. And so I found out I'm a visual learner and a step 1 learner. You're gonna talk to me for 30 minutes, I'm gonna forget what step 1 is. I needed to know what step 1 is because then I could focus on step 2. All the other steps don't matter. And I'm a visual learner where I need to actually see it being done so I could do it. And there'll be some errors along the way, but that's how I learn. I'll learn by chipping my own teeth and then working on getting a nice smile later.
And then I wanted to add too, that's just the tip of the iceberg right there. So I wanted to add too, because it is very unique. Like, I've sat on the other side doing evaluation, and I'll be like, oh, hey, talk to me about this. You're just on this fire. Well, how did that go? And it's pertaining to the evaluation, maybe something about fire behavior, forcible entry. I want to share a story. I was doing a 36-month evaluation with a coworker, and we popped a 2-alarm structure fire. And the engine that is the apprentice usually on is out of service. So it was going, and we're like, all right, we're gonna clear. We'll go to the fire with you guys. And so when we got to the fire, we're like, all right, force this door, throw this ladder, because it was all in the evaluation. So he was able to accomplish a bunch of stuff on the fire ground. So it wasn't just in a sterile training environment. And those are the opportunities that we have that present themselves, with the evaluator, and then going to talk about different fires. It's pretty unique.
And so how many people staff your apparatus?
3.
Yeah,
3.
3.
Okay.
We have an engineer, captain, and a firefighter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we have 7 engines and 1 truck and 1 battalion chief.
Okay. And so what sworn positions are in your department?
So the battalion chief, captain, engineer, firefighter, apprentice, all the way down.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And so, just for yourself and others, what makes people stay at Vallejo Fire Department?
I think Juan can answer that the best.
So, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased towards it, right? Born and raised in Vallejo, I cannot be
a little.
Right? I cannot not love the hometown, but to be honest, again, me having a lack of knowledge of the fire service, me not knowing what the fire service was, I didn't really there was nothing making me want to stay to this department. It was more so like, hey, I could work in my town. But when I started doing station visits, and not only did I do them in Vallejo, I did them around up and down the state. I was traveling all up and down the state doing station visits with every department I could, doing interviews everywhere I can. But once I came into Vallejo and I realized how they interacted with each other, I really got a sense of that family atmosphere. I hear a lot of people talk about a family atmosphere. I think they just assume we're a family. And again, I know there's different types of families out there, but for us, I'm just like, I can really be myself with you guys. I can really trust you guys. I can really bond with you guys, and that's what we sense with each other. And then at the end of the day, we are moving forward towards a common goal of being efficient and effective, and I think that's the glue of our department is having that passion to do more with less, and it's fun. it's something that us all as firefighters enjoy.
I think there's another component too that's unique to our organization is that because it's from the ground up, you know, very like driven from the bottom, we have a heavy involvement in a lot of different things. Like me myself, I'm involved in nozzles, appliances, hose, radios, training, fire control, fire suppression, like a lot of different things. And you can be involved in whatever it is you want to be involved in. You take an interest, usually there's somebody already heading up the program, and we do, I think, a pretty decent job of succession planning. And so that person sees you're interested, and they start taking you under the wing. And that's something that isn't really like well advertised, but that's one of the things that we enjoy. If you have an interest or a niche or, you know, and one of the things we generally try to do our best to cultivate that.
For us department, I think it's only you limit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The things out there are limitless. Only you restrict yourself and put yourself in the box is what he's trying to get at. Like, we have the opportunity to do anything and everything.
It looks like you want to add something.
I just, you know, I'm reflecting on about once a month, we have an interaction where, you know, we visit another station, or we go and talk to a different crew, and I walk away like crying, laughing. And I just say to myself, I'm never gonna leave this place. This is what I'm here for. I never had a dream department. I came down, started doing station visits. I was like, this is the place. Like Juan said, I just want to have the latitude to be myself. And I felt like I've been supported here to do that. And like I said, just crying, laughing. Just it's from some of these interactions.
It's definitely a fun time at work.
These cats are wild.
And so for candidates that are watching, that are getting an understanding of how the apprenticeship program differs from probation. Probation's a year, the apprenticeship is 3 years. And so there's some stark differences there. They really, really want to get in touch. They want to schedule a ride out or a ride along or a station visit. Where can they go? How can they set that up? What's the process to be able to do that?
So a couple things. You can first log into Instagram and then go search at Vallejo Fire DEPT, so Vallejo Fire Department. And then there's a link tree in the bio. You start clicking on that, and there's some resources there available to you. But also, if you want to schedule a station visit or a ride along, we highly encourage that you email vfd.recruitment@cityofvallejo.net. Somebody will respond back to you generally within like 12 to 24 hours. And this way we check availability, see what your interests are. We encourage people at first, generally how it goes is you'll do a station visit and you'll arrive whenever your schedule is available, and then you get to meet the crews. And then usually like subsequent visits will end up being ride outs where you get to be on the engine, get to see the whole day to day. And we highly encourage people to do either 8 or 12 hours of riding out so you could see what it's like to arrive in the morning, have coffee at the table, listen to a changeover pass on, start doing daily chores, cleaning toilets, mopping, washing engines, go buy lunch, sit down, have lunch, go over whatever training, run calls in between the wide array of calls, EMS, hazmat, fire, any number of the things. So you get a full understanding. I encourage the station visits first because, when you come through Vallejo, you get to see a lot of the town, depending on what station you're going to go visit, and that gives you a little bit of an exposure and insight of what city you could potentially be working for. And then when you do the station visits or the ride-alongs, you'll get to see the camaraderie, the types of calls, because those are sometimes we don't know what people are interested in or what they can stomach for the most part, and you'll get to see like what we get to go to and see if that's for you or not. And there's no harm, no foul if that isn't. And then also if you're looking or aspiring for a job in the fire service, whether it's EMT or just starting out, like we can help you. You're in paramedic school, we can study with you. We don't think the fire service is just as insulated or small as the Vallejo Fire Department. It is national for us. So if we're helping somebody out to become the best firefighter they possibly can be, we're helping out another organization potentially, if not our own. That's our outlook on it.
I think one of the things that's beneficial is we all didn't get here on our own. There was somebody else that helped us get to this position. Somebody had to show us a door, help open a door, open a window for us to understand the pathway to get here. None of us got here on our own. And that's where he's getting us like, if you need help, come by a station. Knock on the door, contact, send an email and reach out. We're here to help.
Absolutely.
Who came in through the window?
No, it's just an expression. Just an expression. I don't know if we could reach a window.
We do have questions, so we want to go ahead and take some of those. People are interested.
Yeah.
Amanda, let's take a question from you.
Thank you, Lasana. We do actually have one question regarding the apprenticeship program. It's from Z. Listero. Sorry if I missed it, but regarding the apprenticeships, is this a paramedic prerequisite position?
Yeah, so fortunately, or unfortunately, however you look at it, we hire only paramedics because we're an ALS department. And so the apprenticeship program is an or paramedic apprenticeship program. So, yeah.
Yeah, you have to have that before you walk in the door.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good to know. Thank you for clarifying. All right. So with that, why don't we go ahead and segue? Do you want to take a couple other questions, maybe not specifically related to the apprenticeship program?
I didn't actually want to kind of add on to that one. I didn't. If you're an EMT, where's the camera at? Where's the camera at? If you're an EMT, come do station visits. Because if you're on the fence about becoming a paramedic and you don't know if you're ready to take that step, come do a ride-out. Come see what it's about, and maybe you'll find that this is for you. And we really want to hammer that one home. Come see what it's like. Your hometown station, come visit us, whatever it is. Do a station visit.
I second that strongly.
Yeah, same here.
Second that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you were just wavering and you're like, I don't know if I need to intubate, and well, come on down, take a look. Engine-based paramedicine is far different from transporting paramedicine.
Can you say that again?
Engine-based paramedicine. So being a paramedic on an engine is much different than being on an ambulance. We arrive, but we don't have to bring them to the hospital. So there's that. The continuum of care, we arrive, like usually after the injury or whatever happens. We provide whatever interventions or care that we need to, and then see them on their way. So
there's a lot more ownership and responsibility too. When you're running on patients in your district, in your city, you have a lot more ownership than an ambulance company coming in out of nowhere. And not saying anything negative about them or whatever. It's just when it's a patient in your district, you probably run on them maybe 15 times. You walk in, hey, Miss Mary, what's going on today? And you have that connection with them, and so it feels just like a drop more important.
And they develop a rapport. I think looking at it like the customer service lens, the family member lens, they pay our wage, and that outlook for us is just a high level of investment. So he brings up a great point. Like, you develop a rapport with the patients that you frequently see. Hey, did you take your medication? What's going on? How's Phil? You become a member of this family. Like, we're walking through, looking at all the pictures in their homes, seeing how their families have grown throughout the years, playing with their dogs. It's like, I don't know, I enjoy it a lot, so I can go on for hours.
To add to his, I was an EMT for a while, applying at a ton of fire departments up and down the state, and nothing was happening. I didn't want to become a paramedic. I didn't want to do the extensive EMS and the training that was required for it. But after doing the station visits, like he said, and actually getting to know the people more, I was like, no, this is something I want to do. Not only is it just a couple years of school for a 30-year career, but this is actually something I get to actually go on scene and make a difference. I'm going to actually go there and give this person advanced airway, or put a needle in their lungs so they could breathe better, or I'm going to give them some medication to help reverse something that they've done. These are things that, that's what we live for. It's not just responding to fire calls or vehicle accidents or those. It's like they also need us in the medical aspect as well. And so we're take tremendous pride in being able to provide that higher level of care to the citizens in need. And that's again, like he said, do a station visit. If you're an EMT, do a station visit. If you're not an EMT, do a station visit. Just come hang out and see if it's what you want.
It definitely sounds like a good place to help get you off the fence. For
you don't
sure.
know what you don't know.
Yeah. We have one more question we're going to take.
Let's
go. Amanda, let's go.
All right, thank you. This actually is pertaining to what we were just talking about, station visits. What should someone wear to a station visit? It's going to be their first time presenting themselves. How do you want to see them?
It's we use a moniker like dress to impress. If you're coming to somebody's house, I know it's a government building, but it is. We live there and cohabitate with one another. So, dress to impress. I wouldn't say go buy a suit. I think I talked about this in this segment, that we're just gonna hit the link, hit the click. Okay, but yeah. So I say dress to impress, and then you'll work with somebody later on if you're going to do a ride out, and they will tell you what attire to wear. But we generally will not leave you high and dry. No flip flops or shorts. I think that's not I think we understand that. So.
And the video that Anthony is referencing, he sat down on a panel and was able to speak. That video is coming soon, so stay tuned. He shares a lot of good tips along with the other firefighters in the video, so stay tuned for that.
I mean, I have a list written down at home. It's like my golden rules of station visits, and the first one is what to wear. If you've contacted the station commander or the captain for the day and they tell you to wear something, you wear that. But I always showed up in a suit. Taylor knows I did a station visit with him. We ran a medical call while I was in a suit. But I also always brought a backup pair of EMS boots and non-designated EMS clothes, so blue polo and tactical pants. And then my little treat, little razzle-dazzle, is have a pair of workout clothes in the back too. I mean, keep them in your car, whatever. And that way if the crew goes, hey, I'm about to jump into the gym, let's see what you got. Then you're ready to go. Now that never happened to me, but if they asked me that question, I was ready to go. I was ready to put it up. So that'd be my tip.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to talk about requirements. In terms of getting hired, folks want to work for Vallejo. We know that you all use FCTC's statewide eligibility list. And so we have Amanda here, who's the expert on all things FCTC as the testing specialist. Amanda, can you explain what candidates have to do to be ready to apply to Vallejo?
Absolutely. First and foremost, you want to go onto fctconline.org and make your profile. There are a few requirements to get on the statewide eligibility list. You need to be 18 years of age or older with either a GED or high school diploma and a valid driver's license. Then the work comes in. You need to have your CPAT card. That's your physical agility test, as well as your written. You need to take a written test, and with that written, you have to have a 70% or higher to pass, and that would put you on the statewide eligibility list.
Okay. And so where can candidates find resources to prepare, whether that's for the written test or the CPAT?
You can go to fctconline.org. Pertaining to the CPAT, we have great fun tips that you can watch videos, as well as when you're preparing for the written test, we have a couple of brochures online that you can look at, and we have the FCTC written test prep. Written test prep is so helpful in getting that score raised and kind of giving you a rundown on what to expect on your testing day, as well as a ton of tips on how to pass your test successfully.
Okay, thank you. I also know that there's grants available through FCTC. Amanda, did you want to jump onto that really quickly? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so also same thing, fctconline.org up at the top. Go ahead and apply for a grant. Worst thing we can tell you is no, but let me tell you, when I was going through this process, that helped me immensely, and it'll pay for your CPAT, your practice test, your writtens. Worst case scenario, they say no, but best case scenario, we get you where you need to be, and we help you out financially.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. Oh, good times on set, everyone. Good times. Can you give us, and Anthony, we'll start with you. Can you give us a quick rundown? We've had a quick overview of what FCTC is, services that are provided through the written test, the CPAT, but what are the minimum requirements to apply to Vallejo?
I think Grisham has got this down, the little thing.
Okay.
Sure, yeah. So our minimum requirements to apply is 18 or older, 20 driver's license, completed CPAT, valid, and then the FCTC written test, and a paramedic license. We do not require a Firefighter 1 Academy, which is often required by a lot of different departments, but we offer that ability to gain that certification, Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2, through our ALA Academy that we run. So those are the main points that we have.
Yeah, we did have that question. We received this ahead of time for you all. Do you have to complete the College Fire Academy? And you're saying no.
That's correct, you do not.
Okay.
But if you're in the middle of it, is nothing to deter you while we're,
You're gaining skills and abilities that 100%. Will absolutely
it's a resume builder if you do complete it.
Absolutely.
I didn't have it.
Yep.
We hired a whole class that didn't have a Firefighter 1 Academy.
Okay.
And they've done just fine.
Okay. So definitely encouraging EMTs, folks that are just kind of exploring the profession, come on, do a ride out, do a ride along. And then if you're in a fire academy, still come, pursue the profession. If you have a paramedic license, definitely apply and get into this apprenticeship program. Awesome. All right, so Kevin, we want to talk with you next. So what advice do you have for candidates as they're going through the application or hiring process? And also, you know, you've gone through it most recently. You know, what can candidates do to prepare?
Right, so station visits. Do your station visits. But we were talking about this in the hallway earlier. It's a full-time job to get a full-time job. And I certainly look like, sorry, Juan, I stole that from you, man.
Everybody's been stealing my lines this whole time.
You got all the good lines.
But then the camera gets on me and there's no...
Here, let me check. It's a second job, trying to get a job. That's how I treated it. You know, my first station visit, I was atrocious at interviews. And it was actually his captain that told me. He said, but you told me right here you're a hard worker, so next time I see you, you should have it down pat, right? I was like, man, all right, he's right. And so I started reading a book, an interview prep book. And I actually, when I got hired, I passed it on to somebody else. But I started studying questions and how to answer them. And I started bouncing it off people. I selected or kept doing station visits and was bouncing ideas off of different firefighters and different captains. When it all boiled down to it and it came down for my interview day, I knew everybody on the panel. So I actually had a station visit with a captain who gave me a piece of advice. He said, if you get this kind of question, this is how you answer it. And I answered it the exact way he told me to. He slapped the table. He's like, that's what I'm talking about. So in order to put yourself in those best positions, don't under-prepare. Like, expose yourself and chip your teeth early, right?
Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if they ask to do a mock interview, do the mock interview, even if you're not ready. Don't shy away. It's to help you learn.
Mm-hmm. And so, Taylor, how can candidates make themselves stand out when preparing for the interview?
Yeah, so Kevin has hit he's hot cameraed on the station visit, but we truly believe, especially in our department, that the more you show your face and the more you kind of show us your tenacity, how much you want this job, and what you feel like are your strengths and weaknesses. I'll be honest, my station with my captain, we have individuals come by the station all the time, and what we do and what we're able to pull out from individuals, that they may not see it as a strength for themselves, or they may not feel like this is, I don't need to mention this. We say, wait, what? Did you say something about you grew up with your dad was a carpenter? Or, there's some things that, you worked in the trades at some point, or you worked, in a skilled nursing facility, or whatever it may be. We're able to kind of pull that out of people, and you only gain that when you kind of put yourself out there, come by the station, get in contact with one of us. We do a lot of, interaction with people on the ambulance service around us, so we use that as a tool to we're interviewing you while we're talking to you. We're not formally asking you these canned questions or anything like that, but we're doing the best we can to get to know who you are. And I think that is what we do a great job of, our members do a great job of. We just want to know who you are. We want to know what's your character, what are you about, what are the check boxes in your mind, that your morals and values that make you who you are, because that's who we're looking for.
I think the hardest part, the interviews is the hardest part is being honest with yourself and being able to articulate yourself and get a message across, right? Mm. The best way to do that is just to have a conversation and be yourself and be natural. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what we're doing here. The best way to actually understand who you are and what you offer is to just be that. Don't try to fake you're being somebody else. Just be honest with yourself. We all have our past, we all have our futures, and we all have our issues or whatever, but right, wrong, or indifferent, we're still human, and we still have the right to move forward and progress and learn and adapt. And that's what we want to see. Right. We want to see that growth and that ability to pivot and adapt, because that's what our whole job field is based upon.
Yeah, I got a bit of advice too. I think it is less nerving to come and do a station visit when we're not hiring versus then when we are hiring. I wouldn't say there's less writing on it, but you're not thinking like, oh, I'm on the spot for an interview right now. Well, there's a lot of development that can be done when we're not hiring, And oftentimes I've heard older firefighters say like, oh, he's just coming around because we're hiring right now. Like, well, I mean, there's a little bit of merit to that, right? Like, you're only coming around when you want something. Like, why would we have an open door pretty much? Why don't you come on down and then, and I've seen us even work with guys that are in processes for other departments. Come and get help and assistance from us with interviewing and resume.
Can you say that again? What do you do?
We help prep people for hiring processes for other departments. Right. Like I said earlier, it's not just us. You know, we know that we have friends in all different other organizations, and they would benefit from making sure that candidates can present themselves well, showing their character, showing their morals and their values, you know, and that's a lot of what we can provide in assistance, while also serving us as well too, saying, okay, how would you fit in with our family? Because this is a family, and you know, there's some dysfunction, some weirdos, right? But I mean, everybody's got their quirks, you know, so we want to see if you fit in here, and then we can help you present yourself well, so you can see if you can fit in somewhere else.
I found out a way to answer a great interview question, and success is 3 parts. You answer the question directly, that way you've crossed that part off of whatever the question was. Number 2, you find a story that it relates to you in your personal life, of how that question relates to you in your personal life. Number 3 is find a way to wrap it around and why it's important to the fire service and the family atmosphere. If you could focus on those, on regular fire questions, interview questions, and start formulating those thoughts, that gives you a great foundation to be able to articulate yourself by answering the question directly. Here's a story about me, so I'm just not giving you some typical answer that you hear 100 times a day. But then also, this is why it's important to the fire service, and I see I could be a benefit to your family.
Mm-hmm.
When you interview, it is absolutely, you're putting it all on the line. You want them to see who you are as a person, not just, I have these skills, I have these certificates that check this box, I meet your qualifications. We need to know who you are, because we live with each other for 30 years, potentially, sometimes 96 hours in a row. So we want to make sure that you feel comfortable being with us, and we want to feel the same way. So my captain always says is, the way you should tell your interview story is that, hey, I just sat on a plane with you, and hey man, where are you from? What do you do? But, that's the kind of like interaction we want to have. We don't want you to be upright and very uncomfortable. It should be a very relaxed environment, but it takes some self-reflection to be able to do that, and kind of internalization of knowing who you are. So
yeah, and comfort with self and your own abilities.
Yeah, letting your guard down for sure.
It's hard to talk about yourself.
It is.
That's why you need to practice.
Yes.
Talking about practice.
It's all about reps.
We talk about this with candidates that apply to our EMT and paramedic academies as well. The interview is not here to scare you. We're not here to trick you. We really just want to get to know you. So let your guard down and let us, just kind of get to know you beyond what's already on paper.
Absolutely.
So yeah, excellent advice. So that's one way to prepare on the side of oral interviews. How about when it comes to physical fitness? And so I know that you all have a physical fitness committee that was recently developed. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so the fitness committee is kind of in its infancy, and we have some ideas. The goal is to standardize what we have at the Vallejo Fire Department as far as equipment, and also give everybody the resources to tell them what they don't know. Some people have never had a real exercise routine. So highlighting what's important for firefighters, and then also nutrition. What I would say to a candidate or somebody that's coming into the fire department is there should be a fitness standard that you hold yourself to if your department doesn't hold yourself to it. And general fitness is legs and lungs is what we tell people. You work on your legs, you work on your lungs. The #1 killer of firefighters is cardiac arrest on the fire ground. And even beyond that, once you leave, it is also, heart-related issues once you leave, and cancer, which, physical fitness can help with as well. That's why it's important, is we're trying to establish that foundation, and we want to do our best to give everybody the best resources possible.
We do have some questions for you in the chat. We're going to go ahead, bounce back to Amanda, and take a couple questions.
Thank you, Lasana. For Vallejo, does a DUI disqualify me? This is a question from Instagram.
I think Taylor can answer that question best. Not like you have one, but
No. I think the biggest thing we want to hit with any type of maybe you've been in some legal issue or something has happened in your past is that you have to be upfront and honest. We can't say that it's going to automatically disqualify you, but it is definitely something that you have to be upfront and honest if asked about. So I can, squarely say that it's not going to be immediate disqualification to apply for our department, but it is, if it, comes up, you have to be forthright and honest about that.
Okay. All right, let's take another question, Amanda.
All right, #2 from Cam. Any plans in the future to open EMT level?
That's a good question.
I think Henry can answer that one.
EMTs in Vallejo. Not at the moment. We are an ALS department, and we're going to continue hiring paramedics for the foreseeable future.
Okay. But it doesn't disqualify you from doing a station visit.
Do your station visits. Where's the camera, Lasana?
It's right there, dude. Oh, right there.
Do your station visits.
All right, Amanda, let's take another question.
All right, we got one more question. I know we touched on this, but I think it's a great roundabout question. What is an ideal applicant for Vallejo Fire Department? What would you like to see?
Taylor?
I'm going to turf this to Juan because he is the knower of all.
Potato.
A quality candidate for me specifically, I want them to be self-honest. Are you able to self-reflect and be honest with yourself? We have people that could come in and talk this or talk that and do this. I'm like, that talk is cheap. Are you able to be who you say you're going to be? Are you able to account for your mistakes and own up for it? And are you able to move forward? Or are you just going to start crumbling and fall back? So self-honesty, adaptability, integrity, and I truly believe the last one is resilience. You really need to be able to bounce back from falling down, because the job does have its emergencies and everything we go on. We have to make quick decisions in a short time. So we cannot say that every time we're 100% successful. So you're gonna have to take your licks with you and improve on it, but you have to be able to self-reflect. And that's what I look for in a candidate is, what have you been through and how have you moved past it? Mm-hmm. And how did you not let that affect you and hold you down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think also too is somebody's highly motivated, right? If you're highly motivated, generally you're not going to be very lazy. For us, because we're generally very busy, laziness is not a quality that does well with our organization. So if you're motivated with studying, getting chores done, like you're probably well positioned to do very, very well. So that would be another one that I think that adds to that.
Yeah, I think in our department we often use the term we want workers.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean you're a robot. I mean, we want people that are thinkers and can process and understand the why, like we've talked about. But you absolutely know when you come to work every single day that you could, get a fire or whatever it is, but I'm coming to work. We take our job very seriously. We see this as a craft, something we're honing on a day-to-day basis. Kind of like we've talked about earlier with the city itself, you have to have a level of tenacity, a level of grit to you as a person. And if you haven't found that in yourself yet, come by, station visit, and we will kind of give you that exposure of like, hey, is this a fit for me? Am I this person that these guys are saying that we are looking for as a potential candidate? So that's what I would say too.
To add to the worker thing, like for us, it's a high expectation that you're going to put in work. We go to a fire, right, because we have to put in work, overhauling, fire attack, all that stuff. It's the expectation that, you're the junior guy, like you're going to be one of the ones that's working the hardest. You're going to be in there continually working. However, a lot of our senior members, they're not going to give up a tool to go do something. So even to share a story with you, like that has been the culture of the organization since I've been there, as if a senior guy has a tool, like you're going to go make sure you can get it from him. So like you go, hey, the battalion chief wants to go talk to you. He's like, huh, what? And he walks away, and then he knows he just got duped because you took the tool from him. So that's how, like, our values in making sure that you are going to be continually motivated to work. So.
And that's the sense of pride the department holds itself. You got people hired in the early 90s that still want to put work in and don't want to give up the tool. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, fire in the morning, they still want to be there doing work.
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder.
That's that, like the tenacity, that grit that I just can't explain with this department. You got to do your station visit. I'll do that like Kevin. Do your station visit.
We consider ourselves a very blue-collar fire department.
Yeah, but I feel like it definitely, comes across that everyone that's there wants to be there. And so you want people that also want to be there.
Yeah.
That are ready to work hard.
Yeah.
So for candidates that are in that pool of people, and so they're new to the fire service, Juan, what are some ways that, they can help themselves adapt to fire service culture?
So fire service culture is unique in itself, right? People always have this big stigma like, oh, the fire grounds or firehouse is this, the firehouse is that. It's just another house that a family lives in and occupies it. We just occupy it 2 days at a time. But within that 2 days, we're our secondary family, away from our normal families, but we all have our unique background, what we offer. It's, we're roommates, whatever you want to call it. A way to adjust to the fire station culture is to be respectful, courteous, and humble. Go in there understanding that you're in somebody else's home. Somebody has opened the door and allowed you to come in and welcomed you in. So be there, be respectful, be present, listen. You have 2 ears two eyes and one mouth for a reason. So listen twice as hard, watch what's going on, and don't say much. Be observant until you understand how the family operates, how you can implement yourself, and how you could be an asset to the team. But yeah, you got to do, again, back to Kevin Henry, you got to do the station visits to actually understand
Do
it.
your station visits.
I did my station visits.
Okay. So now I want to add to that too. Like, it took me 8 years to get hired, 35 departments. I did a pretty good amount of station visits, and you know, when you get to see people at the table interact with each other, how they treat prospective candidates or, you know, employees, it's very insightful to see, can I see myself fitting in this fire family? Does that make sense? And so that's, I think, another added value of going to learn the different cultures of different organizations and why you should do your station visits.
And we're saying that a lot, but it is a daunting thing to come by a station. Maybe you have no family members in the fire service, so you've had zero exposure in it. But as Juan said, you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable because that's our job. You know, we're trained to the best of our abilities. We do outside trainings. We do the best that we can. But you get to a point, and I think all of us can feel this way. Maybe not Kevin yet because he hasn't been on as long. But like, I seek that uncomfortability. I want that. I want to be challenged, and I think our department promotes that. I think this profession promotes that when you push yourself. So keep that in the back of your mind too when you're hesitant potentially if you're a potential candidate out there. So.
I think, Juan, you had a really good way of explaining this in a previous conversation, to where you said, something like, coming into the firehouse, there's a lot of, maybe it can be really intimidating, but it's really just, I was raised in a family. That I had to respect other people.
Correct.
And that's essentially what it is.
I try to tell people, I was like, when you go see your grandma for the holidays or anything, you respect the house. If the trash needs to get dumped, you dump the trash. You're not gonna have grandma do that. You're not gonna have her sweep the floors. You're gonna take the accountability, be like, hey, I appreciate what you've done and what you did. Please let me pay my dues forward to understand that I want to be part of this family. I'm appreciative of you even giving me this opportunity. If you look at it from a respect standpoint like that, that's all that we're asking is just, hey, understand we've allowed you into our home. Please be respectful. That's it, and we'll teach you the rest. The rest you'll start being observant and just learn and adapt.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know that the chat is bursting with questions about many of the things we've talked about and some of the things we have not gotten to yet. So we're going to go ahead, jump to Amanda, and take some questions.
Thank you. I have a question. What kind of hazards does Vallejo have that has the potential of experiencing unique type of calls? For instance, refineries, industrial areas. If so, are there additional trainings added?
I think Kevin can answer that the best because he's an apprentice. So that's why we're defaulting to him, because you got to be quick on the fly. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said kind of earlier, there's a lot of unique target hazards in the city of Vallejo. 4 major highways, so many different types of structures, huge and diverse culture, and both ethnically and economically. I'm gonna go back to probably a year ago. I finished an eval. From the eval, there was an auto extrication, which I had to get into the vehicle with the patient or the victim, provide care while they were extricating him, clear that call, we take him to the hospital, I clear that call, come back to the station, I had a fire. In the same breath, the other day there were 3 different types of structure fires, all within 12 hours. In Juan's district, there's waterfront properties, residential. There's a mid-rise, which is also a senior living center. There is a theme park, a lake, and a lot of wildland urban interface. Also, it's the most densely populated area in the city. It's the busiest station in the county. So they're running a bunch of different kinds of calls. So we might not all be like on a team of some kind, whether it's hazmat or USAR. We do have those teams, but you're kind of expected to do it all. And you're expected to have a level of understanding. Like they're calling you, you have to have that answer. And that's, we could talk all day about target hazards.
Kevin was saying, we have a lot of hazards that are threats to us, but that gives us potential opportunities to display our skills, to test ourselves, right? Like you said, the freeways is a big one. The waterways is a big one. With the waterways and freeways, we have 3 bridges that touch our town like that. Those are things that normal cities don't encounter. We have wildland urban interface. We have hills and flatland, right? We also have Mare Island, which is its own island that has 2 bridges that connect to it. So if one of those bridges happen or 2 of them go down, we have to figure out how we're gonna get to Mare Island and help out over there. Also on Mare Island, there's a dry dock where they repair boats and do this, or actually boats that go to Antarctic and break up the ice are coming through Vallejo and getting repaired on. So we have to do all this training. With that being said, we have such a high call volume that we're not able to commit so much to a specific type of training and such that, but when we have the opportunity and the resources, we do at least try to get a quarterly drill in amongst the other trainings that we do, but a big quarterly drill in a unique facet, like a boat at the Maryland Dry Dock. We'll set up a tour with them, but those just take a little more logistics based on staffing and coordinating with them. But yeah, there is multiple training opportunities we have within our department, and then of course there's a ton of departments a ton of training opportunities up and down the state.
Yeah, we're trying to make it work. Staffing has always been an issue, and then having the support and training division to help put on the training. So the county training chiefs, they coordinate training. So if we don't have one in the department, we know where to go get one, like Juan was saying. But for the most part, we try to make it work. Like we have to use a moniker like stick in a rock. Like that's what sticking a rock and bubble gum. That's how it's been. 160 years, so I'm gonna keep on trucking.
We live on the job training is a real thing too.
Yeah, it is very, very real.
All right, back to you, Amanda.
Thank you. We've got a YouTube question from Jorge. Can you talk about family balance while being a firefighter?
That's a great one. So none of us could be here really without the support of our significant others at home and that family atmosphere and that investment. It's not just the people that you work with, it's the support network. And so, our wives and significant others know each other, and having that is extremely helpful, and it's a benefit because they know what we go through, right? They know some of the pitfalls, they know how we deal with certain stress levels, how to decompress, those things like that. They're sharing just as much information about us as we are about the apprenticeship and other things that we're going on. So that has been very, very helpful. I know I couldn't do it without my wife. These guys also.
Yeah, the biggest thing you gotta do is communicate. It's that simple. You gotta communicate with your family and let them know what's going on, and let them know it's gonna be a commitment. This is something that I can see, again, provide a stable foundation for the future. This is something I can see that take us to the next level. So how to balance that is you have to be honest with yourself. It goes right back to the honesty. You gotta be honest with yourself. Am I taking on too much? Am I doing this? Again, I believe in a pyramid of 3s, right? Like the fire tetrahedron. We got sleep, study, and work. In there somewhere, you're gonna have a 3rd one that you're gonna have family. To have your family in there, you're gonna have to get rid of sleep, studying, or work. Well, you're not gonna get rid of work because work still needs to be there. That studying or sleep is gonna have to compromise, and that's gonna be a hard thing to transition to, but that's where you have to be honest with yourself, like, hey, am I really being productive right now? Am I really just grinding away at the end, and I'm gonna end up hurting myself because I'm trying to push forward so hard? That's that self-honesty. It's like only you can control you. You have to be honest with yourself and communicate with your family to be like, hey, please tap into me and let me know if I'm veering off too hard this way or staying up too late consistently, or you got to just communicate and be honest.
It does take time too. I mean, because that communication, it's 2 ways, not just one way,
right.
And my wife definitely knows she has to check in with me, and sometimes she knows when I'm working too much. She's like, pulls the trigger. She's the chief in my home. Like, I'm not trying to go on admin leave there, you know what I'm saying? So, and I don't want to get written up either. So, when she tells me I'm doing too much, I'm doing too much. But she also knows how much I enjoy it, and she has a job where she loves what she does, and so it's like you could see it, going both ways. And these guys can attest to the same thing. Like having that level of communication is something that is constant development. And then, we. Like at the kitchen table, we're always discussing, what's going well, what's not going well. We're in each other's, not in depth in each other's private lives, but we know what's going on. I know what's going on with his kids, his wife, his monster trucks or whatever video games he's playing. But yeah.
It's a balance, Jorge.
Yeah,
it's something you can't. Yeah, you
gotta
can't
take time for work, family, and yourself. Let's be real.
Right. Yeah, it has to be. It's a team commitment. It's not just, hey, I'm gonna pursue this on my own, and everything else will fall into play. These guys have hit the mark.
Again, it's a self-honesty thing, and what's your time worth?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you want out of it?
Over-communicate with your partner.
Your family.
Find out their needs. Tell them your needs. Otherwise, there's going to be opportunities where they're left in the dark because you can't have your cell phone in. You can't be texting in a fire. And so when you do that, it's, they're holding it down back home.
I'll even say the mental health aspect is something that's coming to light, especially for me lately, dealing with some of the stuff that we see, because we see some pretty some pretty gnarly things, you know. I mean, we can go on for hours about it, but if you don't know how to deal with some of that stuff, you know, you turn to alcohol or you just have different stress levels. Like, he works at Station 3, so he's up like 4 times after midnight. And so when you go home, no sleep, and you've seen stuff, you need a nap, or, you know, how can you tolerate those things? And so, I mean, my wife knows how many calls after midnight you run. I'm on the truck, so they're gonna say 0, but it's usually like 1 or 2, you know? And so then they know, okay, he needs a nap, 4 or 5 hours to handle this, whatever. But, you know, it's, that aspect of it is something that you're not gonna get perfect right out the gate. Everybody struggles, but
you
know,
adapt
really quickly to that. So I mean, not really quickly, but it takes a little bit of time.
Absolutely.
And I think the fire service is doing a better job of it now than it did when I first started.
Shout out to the spouses or significant others, or maybe it's not a significant other, just a loved one that hold it down.
It takes a team. It takes a village, right? It takes a village.
It does.
Yeah.
Couldn't do without mine.
There it is.
Likewise. Love you, Mama.
There it is. Beautiful. Amanda, let's go back to you. Let's take another question.
Thank you. That last segment actually touched on a few questions they had about mental health. So that was great. So last question we have is from Lorelei. Is there any type of cultural, diverse training you do to be able to properly address the needs of your diverse community?
That sounds like a great question.
That's a really good question. Like any specific trainings that we offer, not the department necessarily, but like a year or so ago, the city put on a cultural bias training that I thought was really good. Knowing that, you know, we subscribe to some of our own stuff and we don't know. I thought that was really helpful. But we as an organization really haven't done anything as of late. You know, sometimes those things don't pop up until you really need them, or it's too late, but I think that we haven't really struggled with that too much because we really do engage in the community. Like I said, and we go on calls or whatever, and we see kids, like, we're really welcoming. The firehouse doors are open. We want kids to come do, you know, sit on the fire engine, take pictures. Like, we engage with the community quite a bit. You know, we listen to council meetings. You know, we have a pretty good, our labor organization has a really good relationship with city council. So, you know, tending to the community's needs isn't something that's just isolated to the fire suppression side. Like, we have other avenues that gets handled with.
Okay.
Yeah, I think prospective candidates, if you're trying to become more engaged with maybe the individual people that we run calls on, or, you know, we engage with our community, I think you have to put yourself in the community. I think, you know, we've said that a ton, but when we have a waterfront festival, which we typically do in October, that's a chance to come see who are the people that live in this community, who is coming to visit, who is, you know, what are my potential people that I could interact with on a day-to-day basis. That's where you're going to be able to see it. You have to come to the 94590.
Say that one more time. 94590.
Yeah, the 90, the 91, the 89.
All right, Amanda.
All right. That wraps up our questions for today. In the chat, you can reach out to Vallejo Fire Department and they will answer those questions as well. I would also like you to go to fctconline.org, make that profile, get all of your stuff uploaded so you can be on the statewide eligibility list. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Amanda, wherever she is. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Funneling all these questions. Thank you, Amanda. Oh, man. So as we go into, we're about to wrap up, we definitely want to hear any final words of wisdom that you have for candidates that are watching now, or maybe they'll see this a little bit later. And we'd like to start with you.
Words of wisdom, pearls of wisdom. I think that, you know, it's never too late. And when I first got in, some of the characters in the firehouse were larger than life. Gray hair, smelled like smoke, leather helmets, engines that were battered, you know, guys talking at the table, cups of coffee pounding it and stuff like that. Like, it was pretty daunting. But, you know, once you got to have conversations with them, you realize they're human beings. And I know that you know, it looks pretty intimidating, the helmets, the jackets, and all that stuff. Like, I remember what it did like that for me 11 years ago, so I know that it can be that way for other candidates, but don't hesitate to just reach out, you know. I want them to know that we are very welcoming and warm, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is the greatest job on earth. You know, I don't say that just because I do it. It's because of my other experiences that I've had in life, the interactions I've had with my, you know, crew members that I've worked for, my academy mates, any of that. You gain so much more out of this than you would at a typical 9-to-5 job. Your ability to have relationship talks with people, financial, any of those types of things. It is such a family environment like we've talked about that it's unparalleled. So understand that that's what you're getting. This isn't something you clock in and clock out. There's so many layers to it that I couldn't imagine doing anything else. So if you're interested, always pursue and never stop.
Mm-hmm. A couple of things I wanted to say it was mentioned throughout was never tell yourself no. Don't limit yourself. Don't be the one that limits your doors and closes your own options. Keep on pushing. Another one is it's a full-time job trying to get a full-time job. I don't think people understand that. Like, people want to get the job but don't want to put in the work. It takes full-time commitment to understand that and get it. Once I was able to put full-time commitment into it, 2 years later, working, done. After 6 years of wasting my time, if you will, because I just didn't know. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, lastly is, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. I can tell you that. It's 100% fun. So if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I got 2 pieces for you, Lasana.
Station visits. He was good with the finger.
Yeah,
he's ready. He's ready.
Got him.
Gotcha. I got one thing for you, Lasana. Your station visits. No, the other thing is life happens. Yeah. Put yourself in a position, do the best you can to never stop and never stopping. There's going to be obstacles when you're going through EMT school, paramedic school, fire academy, when you're trying to do station visits. That balance is going to be tough. But if this is what you want, you have to make it happen. Otherwise, what I've seen in some of my peers when I first started is those excuses, those obstacles start to snowball, and they never go away. They say, next, I'm going to enroll in the next class. I'm going to enroll in the next class. This so-and-so happened, this happened. At a certain point, you got to make it work, and then do your station visits.
Well, like, to one of his points, though, he's actually absolutely right. Like, when I did the college academy, the guy came in here and he was like, the instructor was like, less than 10% of you are going to get hired. I was like, there's 30 of us. I was like, wait a minute, those numbers aren't very good. But he followed it up with, he's like, because once you get a no letter, most of you are going to be like, oh, that's it, quit. He goes, this isn't for quitters. We can't quit. Yeah. We go to a call, we don't call. We don't say, oh, I quit, I can leave. Like, no, we call more of us, and then other, engines and more of us. Like, you can be a firefighter or you can be a quitter, but you cannot be both. So.
Taylor mentioned it earlier when we were having a talk outside in the hallway, and he said an officer brought up to him, which is true, and I believe it, is that there isn't a person that is being helped into the fire service that didn't get hired based on their commitment. It's because they quit. They gave up on getting hired, and that's why they didn't get hired. They didn't continue to learn how to progress themselves to be hired. It's just, you just gave up. Yeah. There's everybody I know has gotten the job. It may have taken time, it may have been a different path, but everybody has gotten hired that actually wanted it. Yeah. The other ones kind of just entertained the idea and thought it was something that interested them until they did a couple station visits and realized it wasn't for them.
Keep punching.
Just don't give up. Yeah. I have really enjoyed sitting here with you all today. There's a couple words that you all have struck me with. I think each of you are very layered. And so there seems to be a lot of emotional intelligence on the panel, lots and lots of strength that you can see physically and a ton that you can't, just kind of underneath. Excuse me, tremendous support throughout your department, kind of woven throughout the structure within your department. And it just really seems to be the place that a lot of people are looking for, that maybe they haven't necessarily found yet. But looking for that home atmosphere, looking for that family, and just all of those things. So I, on behalf of myself and just the organization, all the people here behind the scenes, definitely want to thank you all for coming all the way down to Sacramento.
We want to thank you too. You guys have been extremely hospitable. This has been fun. Like, this is really enjoyable. Like, it's a good time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so for folks watching at home, if you're interested in applying to Vallejo Fire Department in the future, we want you to know that if you have questions, we strongly encourage you to connect with them. Go on a station visit. Also, Anthony, if you could shout out one more time where they can find you online. I think you said Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram at Vallejo Fire Department. So at Vallejo Fire, DEPTE. And then you can also email vfd.recruitment@cityofvallejo.net. Somebody will get back to you within 12, 24 hours, and you could do your station visits. Done.
There it is. All right, so make sure that you're on the platform. Check out our other content as well while you're here. We're currently releasing a series on moms in the fire service, their mothers that fight fire, their firefighters. Excuse me. Next, you'll be able to hear from firefighters that were actually hired through the FCTC process. So you learn so much about the Firefighter Candidate Testing Center. Really sit and hear what it's like to hear from firefighters who've gone through that whole process and now they're on the other side. So in addition to YouTube, we are on Instagram, we're on TikTok, Facebook, X, and all you have to do is just use this handle right here, @BecomingAFF. So if you were inspired by the conversation today, which we believe that you were, we highly recommend that you subscribe, like our page, go ahead to Vallejo's page, make sure you like their page as well. Again, thank you so much for being here, and thank you, Vallejo.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for everybody behind the scenes too, and Jeanette, wherever you're at. Oh, Amanda, behind the scenes, yeah.
Woohoo! Lorelei, Firestar, everybody.